be able to do it. We'll see exactly what picks are going to come through as we do hop into Champion Select here, and you can see Orianna taken away from Godby straight away.
EDG weren't willing to ban that champion, so it's a lot of respect from QG already to ban away the Orianna first pick, a control mage that opens up a lot of counter matchups. Nope, ban it away.
Yeah, it's not happening, and the focus onto Godby continues here with Kassadin being removed. In fact, the mid lane champion pool is dwindling, Papa Smithy, because LeBlanc and Cassiopeia are now taken away from LGD. We'll see exactly what these players are going to be going for. And I have to think, this may actually suit Doimb a little bit as well, because he's played mid-Maokai.
I think it'll suit Swift as well, because they're looking to try and snap up Gragas as a first pick. No jungle bans. Gragas, Nunu. Those are going to be the top two picks. Sejuani you have to throw in there as well. But it's going to be hard to ban them all out in this particular situation, especially being on blue side. It's always that teetering act where you want to get that strong champion, but want to deny the strong two picks. They ban away the Nunu. I 100% guarantee if Gragas is available, they will take that with first pick. If it's not, you're going to have Azir, and you don't have the Azir Cassiopeia counter matchup to really focus in. Kassadin's not even available. There's no good decisions here. Either you give up the Gragas or you take Azir with no prototypical strong matchups left up for QG. So I feel like this is a masterful pick ban so far.
Yeah, they're playing it beautifully. Of course, yeah, the Alistair is going to be banned away. A bit more of a throwaway ban than anything else. But of course, TCT probably still happy to play that. But Kalista got through, as did Urgot. There are so many picks that are available.
I'm scared.
Yeah.
There could be some crazy power picks. Gragas is available. Azir is available with no clear counter matchup. As you know, Hecarim is available.
Yeah.
Suddenly, there's no winners here, at least. I mean, there might be by the end of these 5 picks, but there's an embarrassment of riches available in terms of meta champions that are actually seen as the power picks at the moment.
Well, this is the thing. You've now got Hecarim and Gragas that are going to be locked in. You have to think that there's not really two picks that are stronger than those, especially together here at the same time in the hands of these players. TBQ showing fantastic prowess on the Gragas during the split, and Acorn's Hecarim doesn't really even need to be explained because he is so good. He's demonstrated it over and over again, and QG, it's going to be difficult for them to overcome this one, and we'll see what they have in their back pocket. Rek'Sai is no surprise, and TCT thinking about that Thresh.
I think one thing you'll say here is that they've gone for the top lane champion and the jungle champion. I think that makes a lot of sense because even though Azir's out there in a high priority pick, especially for QV, having that Emperor's Divide to protect, for example, a Ren-setting Kalista makes a lot of sense. This is Godby we're talking about, who has a champion ocean to deal with in the mid lane. So if anyone has a pocket counter pick to Azir, it's Godby. Get TBQ on the most powerful jungle in this patch. I think by far and away it's the Gragas. So you get him on comfort. In the regular season, he was 2-0 with 0 deaths and a 28 KDA. Eventually became 2-1 and 8.5, but doing just fine. So get him the comfort. Give Godby the last pick, and he'll make do whatever the matchup.
Yeah, and now you've got Imp. He's got Fan on the Janna here that has been locked in. Lucian is going to be locked away as well. And now they've got so much displacement here, and the peel to come through for this Lucian is going to be unbelievable.
So I know this is going to appeal to you, but you know what champion actually appeals to me on this right side? It's actually mid lane Kha'Zix. It won't happen.
I thought you were going to say Mordekaiser.
But the reason why I make it is you've got the Terrify coming through from Hecarim. You've got the Monsoon. You've got the Gragas. Everyone's going to be isolated all the time. This is going to be skirmish fighting effectively, even in team fights from LG, just with all the isolation. So while Kha'Zix's not in the meta, any sort of champion with burst would actually suit them very well here. It's definitely not an Orianna game when you've got all this reposition coming through on LGD.
Yeah, well,
that's not good.
Thank goodness, exactly. So they've decided to go with, let's pick everything that doesn't need to go into an Orianna. But yeah, you're pointing out the Morgana that I believe is going to be heading into the mid lane.
That's a very defensive blind.
Oh, wait, no, it doesn't have to. Because, of course, Doimb has played the Maokai in the mid, and that could be a Morgana top.
He actually mispicked that Morgana. The Maokai, sorry. It was actually a mistake. They didn't actually mean for it.
He still played it.
And they won with it,
exactly.
Too. In the Demacia Cup, no less.
Yeah.
But, I mean, LGD kind of have to pick Assassin. That's why kind of the interesting thing about the Morgana, as we mentioned, isolation, isolation, isolation. You want someone with burst damage you can get in and get out. Morgana fits the, Fizz fits the bill. The matchup against Morgana, it's not going to be ideal for Fizz. Not a lot of kill pressure, but should be able to freely farm. Not a lot of kill pressure coming out of a Morgana. Has to pick up the Ignite, an offensive summoner against the Assassin, just for a bit of kill pressure. But yeah, I mean, just blind picking Morgana, almost never the right case. You know, it's a good answering pick to the likes of LeBlanc, as we saw at MSI. But the blind pick of Morgana, actually quite apt, given just the fact that it was always going to be multiple skirmishes rather than a full burst team fight.
Yeah, it's going to be frightening. But, I mean, I guess they do have a fair bit of protection here for the Kalista. TNT might have a bit of an easier time here being able to carry out this game. But putting so much on his shoulders when he's up against Imp, who is an incredibly powerful AD carrier, the coaches are going to just shake hands before this one. And we'll see exactly how it's going to turn out as we do go through the matchups here. It's V versus Acorn. The Hecarim versus Maokai. I've seen that a few times.
Yeah, Maokai's going to farm. Hecarim's going to farm up for the late game. Maokai's going to have a lot of mid game pressure, but there's a lot of pressure from the jungle. Speaking of, with the likes of Rek'Sai.
And Swift coming through with some early pressure there available to him with that champion. Dome is going to be picking up the Morgana this time. No fancy swap arounds with that Maokai to be coming through, and now it is going to be Kalista versus Lucian, Imp versus TNT, and we'll see how TNT goes in his first game here in the LPL.
It's a good laning matchup for Lucian against the Kalista, specifically early before the Martial Poise gets levels. You're going to register those trades with the Piercing Light. So in general, you look down this QG side, it errs very much on the early game. You've got the likes of Morgana, who will fall off even with AP stacking in the late game. You've got Maokai or Rek'Sai, massively strong mid-game, early game presence and power from those two picks. QG, they need to get the neutral snowball, and they need to get on top of this game early, because if you take it to late, there's a lot of tools available, a lot of teamfight resets available. Suddenly, if you can just disrupt the fight, just negate the pressure coming through from specifically the Morgana, things look pretty good for LGD.
Yeah, it's going to be very frightening for QG moving through this game, but if they can actually control the mid-game situation, especially with that Maokai, it is going to be possible. We'll see whether they can make it work, because of course they really want to come out with a bang, and they're against the top competition here apart from EDG. So let's hop onto the Rift and see how they do. And here we are, ladies and gentlemen, onto the Rift for QG taking on LGD. QG this time are going to be on the blue side. LGD
Chroma
picking up the red, and there is a yellow Fizz. You are very excited about that.
I actually haven't seen any of the Fizz Chromas in game. He's very yellow.
He is most definitely
Golden
very
almost.
Yellow. He could hide over near those fires and see whether he could stay a little bit more camouflaged.
Some shameless plugging right here.
It's not about that. It's about us getting excited about what's going on. In fact, the spectate probably should just sit on this Fizz for the entirety of the game zoomed in.
Just goes to disrupt the saplings. A smart move there from Godv, just delaying any sort of level 1 camp coming through from Maokai. Imp's rushed up the top lane, so he's going to be lane swap, at least attempt to be initiated here by LGD. I'm just returning to my point about QG. The thing I'll tell you, Atlas, and I think you'll find it hard to disagree, basically all of QG peak at 2 items. It's all about, say, the Merc treads into the Righteous Glory. It's all about the Cinderhulk into the first big Giant Spot item. It's all about Morgana getting a bit of AP, and specifically Kalista. We know all about Bloodthirster into Hurricane, for example. 2 items, you cannot fight QG in terms of team fights. That's what QG need to understand, is that because they have such a fast power spike, get every objective they can, whether that's multiple turrets, whether that's the monopolization of Dragon. Their win condition is getting things going early, and if they get to the late game, it's going to be a struggle. Yeah, and is LGD going to worry too much about this Kalista if she's going to be building this Hurricane build, or do we need to have TNT picking up something that might be a little bit more sort of tank bust focused? Because there is a Hecarim, there is a Gragas here. It could be a scary prospect here for a Hurricane Kalista. That's kind of the question. Like, I feel like in the LPL, the Kalista's default to Hurricane just because of the 2-item power spike. You see over in the Korean scene, usually they don't go for the Hurricane just because there's often those situations where you're not actually getting the bolts onto multiple members. The rend sets aren't really realistic. You go for the Static Shiv or the Phantom Dancer route. It's kind of a caught between two minds, because we've already mentioned the fact that there's like multiple teamfight repositions coming through from LGD. So theoretically, it's going to be multiple small skirmishes rather than a 5v5 fight where you're pushing Rensacks onto members. But then you're also delaying your power spike if you don't go for it. Speaking of power, they're going really aggressive. Yeah, QG looking for the dive here. There are 4 members, but there's 3 from LGD. Nice hook onto TBQ as he's got the double buffs. They really want to take them away, but makes his way underneath the turret, and Gragas a fair bit of survivability, even in the early levels. QG, they really want to try and take this one down. LGD trying to clear out these minions. They're very, very low. It's QG, they are going for the dive. Morgana coming around here as well. First blood actually going to go down here, and Janna going to fall as well.
That is going to be a kill for TNT. And man, things not going so well for our runners up here in the LPL.
Those turret dive mechanics were wonderful. Golby wants an answering kill, though.
Yeah, he's looking for something here. He's going forced to use that flash away. Beautiful knock-up going to come through as Golby's going to burn to death. Acorn going to follow. He's actually not dead. Death sentence, max range. And TCT picks up that one 4-0 already at 4.5 minutes.
That is the best turret dive I have ever seen. The critical factor, Atlas, what allowed the re-engage is that when the first Twisted Advance came in from V, he didn't actually take turret aggro despite being, what, 500 units away from the turret. It was literally on the cusp of taking turret damage. They were full health, chunked TBQ out to 50%. It allowed the re-engage and 4 kills to 0. Only Imp not affected because he wasn't even on the same side of the map. That was majestic play from our LPL champions.
Yeah, it's really, really beautiful work. And of course, identifying the fact that LGD weren't ever going to be able to get there in order to have a 5v5 engagement, because Imp, of course, as you mentioned, just chilling out there on the top side.
And it's multiple variables. Morgana has so much more pushing power in the mid lane that it was always going to be Doinby that was going to be able to rotate fastest. We're going to see the replay. TBQ was chunked out on the cusp of turret aggro, and watch the turret jungle. TCT takes the first 3 bolts. You see, the actual last turret hit would have died because of the exhaust, but still juggling the turret. Picked up the first 2 kills. Finally, you see Golby trying to salvage something. He's an assassin. He wants to get snowballs. An extra kill on the way out is massive for Fizz in this matchup. But the re-engage and just the commitment coming through from this QG squad is wonderful. And then more. Now TCT, too easy.
Yeah, too easy indeed. That death sentence was beautiful. And of course, Swift using his entire health bar so fantastically there. Made sure that he got that double knock-up, which really won them that entire last engagement. Godvi unable to do anything after that. And you can see already Morgana able to continuously push out these waves. Fiendish Codex now picked up, and it's going to be hard for Godvi to be able to roam around because he just doesn't have the wave clear that this Morgana has.
And in general, it's been the team, the style of QG to try and get these big early advantages, just snowball games out of the realm of possibility for their teammates. So to actually be able to do this on the big stage in the LPL is already very impressive. And Swift staying true to his name, QG staying true to their game plan, already have a really big advantage.
Yeah, we've spoken about this in the past as well. I mean, playing your own game is so incredibly important, and it's only magnified when it's your early games here in the LPL because you're not used to the big stage. Of course, LGD, you throw them a curveball, they're not going to be too worried about it because they've been there for a long time. They're comfortable, although right now we are going to have TBQ getting caught by a Hawk, takes most of his health bar. As QG, they are relentless with the pressure here, and they are going to possibly transition into this Dragon.
And that's the thing. They're thinking on multiple levels ahead of what's just happening in front of them. That's why they're looking like more and more of a competitor rather than a team that will just pad out the bottom 4 spots. They understood Morgana's going to push in Fizz. We've got multiple members, the potential for 5 on the bottom side. Morgana can react first. Let's go for the turret dive. 4 kills. They chunk out TBQ. Jungler's gone. No smite available. It's not a double smite situation because Acorn's smite is down as well. It's going to be a free Dragon. So they're thinking multiple variables ahead, and this is an impressive first 7 minutes from QG.
Yeah, it's really beautiful stuff. But Papa Smithy, does this mean that LGD aren't going to be able to get back in, or is their scaling comp just going to weather this storm and they can move forward from there?
Any team that really falls down from 2-item spike can lose a game. There's always that potential where a random ace comes in. You just tip the items towards LGD and they can win fights. But the big thing is, if those 2 items come, what, 5-6 minutes early, it becomes more and more difficult. It's all about containing a QG team that's already running rampant. 2,000 gold doesn't sound like a lot, but it's 7 minutes into the game. It is a considerable lead along with a Dragon. QG just need to keep playing their game, keep working towards their win conditions, which is monopolization, specifically a Dragon, and basically getting as many turrets they can potentially shove out. If they keep playing their game, there will always be a point where they don't take enough, and LGD take this game at, what, 30, 35 minutes, 40 minutes into the game. But you keep on this pace, you keep hitting those timings on point, and it becomes harder and harder for QG to lose this game.
Yeah, we've spoken before about these newer teams not necessarily being able to sort of solidly close out a game as well. This is going to be the real test here for QG, who have committed to having this earlier scaling comp. They need to be able to finish these games.
Speaking of finishing, Rek'Sai already has a
Oh my goodness. That is terrifying.
That's not without any kill credit. Just literally went 4 assists, Cinderhulk.
Yep. Well, it is going to be answered here by TBQ. It's been farming up a little bit more strongly. Nice pierce to come down from TNT. Sim's going to get slowed by the Rend at the same time. And it's bottom lane from QG, just holding that wave, making sure LGD need to keep poked up, and he's going to be the culling coming through, actually doing a fair bit of damage here to the QG bottom lane.
Very nice poke damage. This is a winning lane matchup picked by Imp on this Lucian, so this is what they would expect, obviously. Big curveball with the 4 kills early in the game, but they swap back, and this is a different dynamic. It's no longer a turret dive situation. It's the 2v2 lane matchup that LGD themselves did not opt into at level 1.
Yeah, and you can see Fan, he's just hanging back. Imp is controlling this lane almost on his own here. Is TNT going to use that Rend in order to take down that Siege minion?
Remember, Imp was not involved in all the craziness.
Well,
in the
exactly, yeah.
kill. He's gone up top. He's winning in CS. He's got a BF sword. His power level, Doran's Vamp Scepter against a BF sword, a lot more power with him. So it's no surprise that the culling damage is really sticking.
Yeah, it certainly does make some sense here as Acorn gets taken down very, very low there on the top side. Does have teleport available and is smite as well, as he is going to head back. Oh, Imp actually going aggressive here. Piercing Light really starting to rack up some damage now that he's hit that level 7 mark. Couple more levels and he will have that one maxed out. Godby just going to clear out these minions with the Playful Trickster. Urchin Strike to get him out of the way of that Q.
And the difference with Fizz in this Morgana matchup compared to other, say, counter Fizz matchups, that Fizz doesn't have to respect the Morgana's damage, so can actually stay competitive in CS. 76 to 79 CS, with the lack of wave clear that you traditionally have as Fizz, is actually a big win here for Godby, because he's staying competitive in CS, he's still going to have significant split push pressure as we move on to this game. Yeah,
and I mean, if there is ever a champion that you just do not have kill pressure on, it is, you know, a Fizz as being Morgana, because that Playful Trickster so easily dodges out of the way of the Dark Binding. And then what else do you have? I mean, you've got the Soul Shackles, but he's got so much mobility that you have a feeling that Godby probably not going to struggle too much as far as the 1v1 is concerned. But Doinby actually really able to keep pushing this one out, and he's also not going to die.
That's the thing, is that Godby just doesn't have to respect Doinby at all, so he is able to even aggressively wave clear in the face of a Morgana. He still has flash available, so he can always flash the tether. So, I mean, the only situation where you have kill pressure as Morgana is flash being down and, say, a lane ward to snipe him with a binding. And this, it's just very, very difficult. And Playful Trickster being down. So at the point where you stack all those variables together, you just like, okay, you deserve this kill. But realistically, not going to happen this game.
Well, that was very cute of Godby there. Oh my goodness, there's the fish to land. Nice Dark Binding though, as Doinby is going to get shot back towards his team. Oh my goodness. That was disgusting, as TBQ able to really facilitate that gank. Fan coming up here as well just to try and see whether he can pick up any assists, but not going to come of it. And that was very nicely played by LGD.
Yeah, Morgana just didn't have any options there. Realistically wanted to save the flash to try and flash the explosive cast to get a bit of bonus distance away from the Fizz. But once he's committed to flashing, Gragas hits an excellent cast, and that's the kill in mid that might change the lane.
Yeah, Fan actually forced to use the flash away here as Swift just tunnels underneath, picks up the kill with the unburrow. QG are going to answer back very, very quickly. That were 2 kills in a very short period of time here, and we hadn't seen too much since that amazing tower dive early on, but QG still with some fight left in them. LGD doing their very best just to try and eke some control back into this game.
You worry about the mid lane though. Godby still has kill pressure on a Morgana of all champions, you have to think at this point.
Yeah.
If he hits the fish and gets a bit of help from Gragas. Maybe if a Negatron Cloak into an Abyssal is the next pick up from Doinby, then maybe he can start to stand up in this lane, but he's going to have to play pretty passively, and you're just granting free farm onto a champion that after all the nerfs should be struggling in lane more than Fizz is currently.
Well, Godby definitely doing a good job. Has hit level 9, so Playful Trickster most likely going to be maxed out at this stage, so can really clear out these waves. Urchin Strike onto Doinby here yet again. As the fish comes through, immediately Playful Tricksters as well. Doinby in so much trouble. TBQ doesn't even get an assist because Godby just able to take that one for himself. And we've spoken about how impressive this player has been and demonstrating it yet again here.
And the big worry is that despite the fact that he got 2 assists and was doing very well in CS, Morellonomicon doesn't help him in the 1v1 versus Fizz. It's not about having more black shields, it's about having more power on that shield, whether that's sheer ability power or a Negatron Cloak, because of course magic resist scales with whatever shields you're able to put, the effective bonus magic damage health you have from that black shield. With a Morellonomicon, he's not pushing instantly, in fact getting out-pushed if Playful Trickster can be used on a minion wave, and he doesn't have the combat stats to deal with Fizz, so unfortunately, Morgana in a losing lane matchup, about as awkward as can be from the mid lane.
Yeah, especially when, as you mentioned, the situation moving towards the later stages of the game not looking so strong when Godby, when he can get to be this split-pushing threat, it's going to be impossible for QG to deal with it.
Yeah, you move towards 40% CDR, big stack of AP, all the team fight resets, whether it's the Terra fight, the Gragas ultimate, the Monsoon come in. You get one killer's Fizz, you got that Eek WQ all up on a short cooldown. When it's an isolated fight rather than 5 members peeling for one, Fizz excels.
Yeah, and he's going to be more and more frightening as this game goes on. Godby, there's the yellow Fizz, definitely making it look good. We are going to have the bottom lane of LGD heading back to base now. It is going to be just the Berserker's Greaves and a Brawler's Glove to come through from Imp, as Urchin Strike going to be used by Godby just to get out of the way of that Dark Binding. But you can see now has no trouble clearing out these minion waves, and we'll see what LGD decide to do with their new control and power on this map.
Feels like actually from the skill max, Godfrey's actually passing on a little bit of information. He's actually maxing the Seastone Trident second, the W.
Interesting.
For the percentage health damage and, of course, the on-hit damage when he finishes W. To me, that suggests he's going to be looking to split push, because if you're looking to max your Q, the Urchin Strike, second, you're usually looking to use the Lich Bane for damage. If you're maxing the W second, it strikes to me that he wants to go in a lane with Maokai and just chip damage. Remember, of course, the tie.
There is, in fact, the point-blank Descents onto a fan here who's got the Ren sets sticking to him. TNT going to lock down that kill, and TCT just tanks up Imp's damage, and they're easily able to lock that one down. The new support not quite working out here for LGD so far here on the bottom side, but Imp still with the CS advantage.
So we're learning that Godby's still a god, and that fans know PYL.
Yeah, it's not quite there just yet, as Swift is going to be able to clear out a ward. TBQ actually face checks it. Nice Dark Binding in a land here as well as the ult comes through. Godby looks for the fish, but now he's going to have to 1v2 as the teleport comes through. 1v3. Dome is going to try to escape and does manage to, but QG, they've got enough members there in the mid lane. I think 4 was probably ideal to deal with this Godby.
Yeah, face-checking that brush with the pink ward. Smart pink ward, smart rotations coming through from QG. Their rotational play's been on point. This gold lead, we talked about it being notable at being 7 minutes, 2K. Suddenly it's 16 minutes, and 4,000 gold is the lead, coming up to 5,000 now. That's a big advantage, and again, it's a mistake from TBQ. And between between Fan just not being PYL tier and this lane swap having to end early, and you're not having the same aggressive wards and coverage and ganks even of PYL, you feel like it's starting to move along to TBQ as well.
And you can see QG as well. They're warding fantastically. You can see the river entirely lit up as they've got pinks lining it towards that top side. Akon now in a whole lot of trouble, almost demonstrating my point here as Swift's going to come through. Doesn't quite get the knock up. Akon is going to get flashed on though, and he's not going anywhere. QG pick up the kill in the top lane as well.
So much early game power with these item purchases. Everyone LG is looking for scaling, and it's only Godby that's really in a point of looking to duel with his opponent. Doing very, very well against the Morgana, but everyone else's problems are spilling over into the mid lane, and that stops a fiercely 1v1 champion like Fizz from feasting on the free kills on Doinby.
Yeah, and as soon as he's not able to get them as well, he's going to have to go elsewhere to pick up these kills. As Doinby is going to try and make his way somewhere, but he's cut off just a little bit by the LGD members hanging around this area. Dragon not going to be up just yet, but some vision control is being afforded here by LGD. Waves continue to get pushed.
So we talked about 2 item spikes. Zhonya's going to be a huge purchase from Morgana, of course, negating a lot of the single target damage coming through. It's a second way to cleanse away the fish coming through, whether if the Black Shield's down, happily just be able to Zhonya's that damage. Of course, a lot of Fizz's damage now gated around hitting that fish and the points of power shortly afterwards. If you Zhonya's right at the end, suddenly he loses 2.5 seconds of bonus damage coming through. So Zhonya's going to be a big picture up. You can see from the recurve bow that so will be the Hurricane they're going to opt into here. They're going all in on the mid game, and honestly, with multiple winning lanes, it's a good strategy.
Yeah, and especially considering the fact that their team comp sort of relies on winning very early on, you may as well all in onto that fact, considering LGD's comp, which is just beautiful for the later stages of this game. And Akon, he does almost have his Cinderhold completed, but he's nowhere near a Trinity Force or his next tanky item that he's going to pick up afterwards in order to complement this team-fighting monster that is Hecarim. And he really does need time to scale.
And that's the thing. Everyone at this present point from LGD is a potential Ren set for this TNT, especially when the Hurricane is complete. They're not going to be able to finish the items to counter that Hurricane purchase in the next 5 minutes. 15 minutes more, around the 33-minute mark, absolutely LGD might be looking to opt into fights. But for now, they want to put Godv in a side wave wherever possible and split push, as I mentioned. Maxing out that Seastone Trident second actually allows him to duel really well with Maokai in a side lane. It's one of the reasons why Zatai was able to pick that Fizz into Maokai matchup, is that it really does have the potential to completely punish a Maokai. So no Lich Bane going to be the rush, given that particular skill order.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, and he's definitely not going to be picking that one up, as Godv may have found an opportunity here on the bottom side. Hits the fish as the Urchin Strike comes in as well. Does get exhausted. TNT trying to get out of this one, but he doesn't make it as Akon does teleport in. Godv still with a lot of damage available. Gets through, gets death sentenced, but it's not going to be aptly named this time as the fish is able to escape. Beautiful stuff.
Now that's a big, big win there for LGD. They actually get the picks they're looking for. You can see why they want to engineer the split push. If the wards aren't there to be predictable from QG, it was the reverse of the situation in mid where TBQ face-checked Swift and Doinby. In this situation, it's the other way around. LGD, that's the only way they can really stay in this game, is to force split push. But if they take this dragon, that's a big win here for LGD.
Yeah, and they are 1-1 apiece at the moment. Picking this one up does mean that the early game power not going to be quite as relevant here, as we're demonstrating the fact that almost the full CDR completed.
Not sure what rune page we're talking about, but with Morellonomicon, of course, pretty trivial to get to 40% CDR from there with the blue buff. Definitely going to be confirmed. Has put a second point into the Urchin Strike, but is very much in the position to be able to split push against any one member of QG. So if you have to force multiple members to be sent bot, it allows other people free farm. It gets away from the team fighting power spike. The fact that with Hurricane completed, with more items being completed on Morgana, they weren't able to fight for dragons. We mentioned the win condition was dragon. And with 2-1 advantage, LGD, they're actually the ones ahead in that metric.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And again, we saw God be able to nimbly escape the potential gank from TCT. And he's going to head back to base now, probably to pick up the Zhonya's Hourglass. As he actually cancels that one out, as the Scuttle Crab is going to fall down here as well. And we'll see exactly what LGD are going to do.
And the question is how QG have been the ones that have been assertive. QG were the ones we say are playing around a pseudo timer with their comp. How are they going to force fights now that they've fallen behind in Dragon? Realistically, LGD can look at the second Dragon coming in from QG and think, okay, we'll give you that. There's not a lot of stats to be given up in that situation. So you add, what, another 11 minutes onto the game before the third Dragon spawning? 11 minutes time. Akon is going to be massive. Has a Phage already. Might actually be the Black Cleaver and not...
Yeah, that's what I was considering as well.
It could be a Spirit Visage. It could be any item. Hasn't really priced into anything with that Ruby Crystal. Probably going to be a bit more defense and then still a Trinity Force. But yeah, it could be the Black Cleaver. Multiple options there. In 11 minutes, this LGD comp will already be greatly outscaling QG because Morgana, again, only has a very low ceiling when it comes to items.
Yeah, is always going to be able to wave clear, though, you have to think, as soon as the minions do
slow
stop.
Wave teleport's coming in.
Yeah, there's a double knock-up as well, as Fan does use the Monsoon to try and get them out of there, as we do have Imp in a lot of trouble. TNT picks up that kill as TBQ is going to have to run for the hills. Godby continuing to split push, but this could be a tower or a Baron available for QG at this point. They've got the pick that they want on the power player of LGD. May as well pick up the Baron.
They have to go for the Baron because it's the only thing that will dissuade Fizz from continuing the split push down bottom. They have Callista and Smite. Will they have enough damage to take it down?
Yeah, Akon also with the Smite available here as well, as Fan's going to come through with a Tornado. TBQ. But it's down to 2,000 health here. TNT is going to be able to lock that one down. Baron falls for QG, but the knockups are coming through. Akon tries to ult his way in here, but he's definitely not with a man advantage as he falls down. Godby gets death sentence. He's going to get killed at the same time, and Fan has no friends here as everyone just ignores him, and Swift, he's left with cleanup duty.
Swift's waiting for cooldowns. Wants to get the kill, picks it up. Massive play from QG. Very smart. If they had looked for mid turret or any sort of turret trade, Fizz would have taken an inner turret. But in this particular situation, went for Baron, had the Callista, trusted the ability to just work out that Baron damage and take it even in a 50-50 situation. And now the advantages pile up for QG.
Yeah, and you've got V. He's just going to tank up this turret for a bit as well, save some minions. And with these Baroned up minions, this inhibitor turret is going to fall very quickly. Akon now going to respawn Godby as well, but the damage has been done here, and QG already utilizing that Baron buff beautifully, picking up a couple of turrets and breaking the base.
I'm really excited, just smiling watching this QG team because they're very good at shot calling. That's the thing I've noticed, is that understanding that Baron was the only way they could get a positive trade. Okay, it ended up a relative 50-50, but with Kalista, you should be able to judge, you know, 1,500, 1,700. You have excellent Baron secure, but that was the only way to stop what would have been an inner turret trade. They wouldn't have got any better than that, but they get the absolute maximum. So it's always kind of the poker player's dilemma about, you know, looking at your expected values, looking at what's the most you can get and what you'll lose, and they got the maximum in the trade they got.
Yeah, they certainly did. Govy not even going to be able to go back to base here as the Prey Seeker does find him, but does almost have that Zhonya's Hourglass
Items
completed.
look very nice over on the QG side.
Oh,
we already had Bloodthirster Hurricane. It was in full effect in the Ren setting build. I mean, it's a small point that we didn't mention, but of course, they ended up fighting 4v4, 4v5 in the Baron, so everyone lined up for Kalista damage. It was happy days for Kalista. Now has the QSS working towards Last Whisper. Randuin's completed for the Rek'Sai, the Zhonya's, and a Negatron. And Acorn, he's taking a lot of damage from V.
Yeah, he may be forced to use the ultimate. Does, in fact, use it here, but V not giving up. Flash into the Twisted Advance as well. Imp looking to try and get some assistance here for his top laner. Does go in very aggressively. V may have gone a little bit too far, but he's going to most likely be able to escape unless Godby has something to say about it.
Even with Fizz coming, they didn't have ward coverage to know whether they were more reinforced. They know now, so they'll keep the chase, but what are they going to lose in swapping for this?
Yeah, well, this is the thing. They do have an open inhibitor here in the mid lane as TNT, able to clear out these minion waves very quickly.
Both Fizz and Lucian are back, so this is risky play from QG. Maokai does not have teleport.
Yeah, this inhibitor has taken a little bit of damage as TNT now with some more free time. The barrels are going to zone him out of the way here as Imp with the red buff.
Now, Black Shield is on. They know that Acorn doesn't have ultimate, so they're chancing it. This is risky.
Yeah, nice use of the Dark Passage there, and that is going to be the inhibitor falling down. QG able to utilize this Baron very, very well. Just wore off now. So they pick up the couple of turrets and, of course, the inhibitor, which is so very important. Dragon going to be respawning in 20 seconds, and QG, they've timed it beautifully. Steal the blue buff away, grab the Dragon, push out the rest of these waves. So far, the map control of this team has been fantastic.
Exactly, and now we're going to watch them continue to push. Don't have the Baron buff like you mentioned. 5 seconds to the Dragon, so they'll get a chip onto this turret and be able to back away towards Dragon. Probably not going to want to opt into a Dragon fight with all the power spikes being hit by QG.
Yeah, this is such textbook play from QG. They just know exactly what they have to do at what time. The culling going to be used in desperation here to clear out the minion wave as LGD just trying to hold on to what they can of their base.
And we asked the question. They were behind in Dragons. We thought that's the big win condition. It's either turrets or Dragons that will get them in. Of course, Baron is always a potential, but not usually realistic. Falling behind in Dragons, then being smart enough to get a pick, translate that into what looked on some levels like a risky Baron, but actually was the correct choice. And what they've taken from that Baron, they got multiple kills on the members, broke the base, now taken an inhibitor. They pick up the Dragon as well. QG's taking everything methodically in this game, and all LGD can do is watch. They don't have a lot of wave clear. Again, this is what Fizz grants you in the mid lane. So they're ending up being voyeurs in a lot of ways, watching QG play League of Legends the way it's meant to be played and not really have any options to get back into the game.
Yeah, this is just a really interesting thing to see from our runner-up team, and it might just be this is what LGD look like without PYL, without their power star player making the calls around the map, because PYL was a large factor in that, and it looks like LGD, they're sorely missing him.
And that's the thing. You never want to take away from a really great performance by a young team. QG have played excellently this game, but let's refocus on LG just for a moment. Use this thought exercise. PYL and lane swaps, TBQ and the Cinderhulk meta, they basically won. They had a higher win percentage in the playoffs than the team that won the playoffs, EDG.
Yeah.
They were 8-3 compared to 9-4 EDG. They were winning every game with the same strategy of lane swapping and these 2v1 follows, helping helping TBQ get big in fights. Akon's going for a big flank here.
Yeah, looking for the onslaught of Shadow, but TBQ's almost dead already. He is going to go down. TNT picks up that kill. There's the onslaught. Does get a whole lot of fears. as Doimby is going to have to try and get out of there. Godby's going to fall down though. The double kill. The Renset's coming through for TNT as he picks up the triple. Flashes forward now. Fan and Imp in so much trouble. It is going to be the Quadra from TNT looking to try and pick up Imp. Imp going so aggressive. The pentakill from TNT. And that's going to be the game. What a debut from this team.
And what a re-entrance back into the LPL for TNT. It didn't work for him on Royal Club, but it's looking good on QG. It's all about QG and their excellent play, but LGD without PYL, they look a different team.
It just does not look like the LGD that we were expecting, but exactly like you mentioned, don't take away from this new team. QG played that beautifully, and LGD, there was nothing they could do. After that beautifully orchestrated turret dive that wasn't necessarily a fluke, a lot of the times when we get these early kills, we question, was that a mistake? Was that something that went wrong? But there was just beautiful coordination from QG.
It was a piece of beauty. If ever a team is unsure of how to pull off turret dives, watch the fact that they get the initial engage with no turret aggro, chunk out the TBQ on the Grugs, then re-engage and get the massive kills. And the reason why I was talking about the PYL changes is that TBQ, he was looking like a god on the Cinderhawk meta. Suddenly doesn't get that protection of the jungle follow and an excellent roaming support. Just coming into that last fight, he was 0-3-1. He must have finished 0-4-2 perhaps. That's not the TBQ that took the playoffs by storm.
No, it wasn't. And he did that on the back of Bristol, you have to think. Of course, Sejuani was a great pickup for him. Of course, didn't see a ban, but
it's not like we're talking about a step down. Gragas is right up there.
Exactly. So, of course, TBQ struggling just a little bit at this stage. Did manage to get that earlier gank, and that sort of worked out here. But we'll see what LGD can do to bounce back from this one, or whether QG are going to come out with a 2-0 for their first game. But, guys, we are going to have a short break. We'll be back with Game 2 very soon.